Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you, please do your own research. All media used was found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings. Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. It's Mahogany Spirit coming to you from the UK. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Harry has just done an interview with GQ magazine, or should I say Patrick Hutchinson has, and it features Harry. For those of you who don't know who Patrick Hutchinson is, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction with regards to Black Lives Matters, as this GQ interview does cover Black Lives Matter, anti-racism, education and mental health, awareness and fitness. One of the defining moments of this year's Black Lives Matter Renaissance was Patrick Hutchinson lifting a white protester out of harm's way. Prince Harry spoke with Hutchinson about both their journeys and what we need to do next to further anti-racism. On a personal note, I really wish I could look at this interview through rose-tinted coloured glasses. But unfortunately, in this case, I can't. Because although I really do respect Patrick, I'm really dubious about Prince Harry and him doing the interview with Patrick. I know that Patrick was extremely honoured to take part in this interview with Harry, and yes, Harry did allow Patrick to have the floor for once. But I felt that Harry was talking from a position of privilege, which is what he is. And I do think that this will have to be done in parts, as I can't just summarise it in one part. So here goes, guys. As a 36-year-old white man with a unique story, no one more than Harry himself knows the privileged position he has found himself in. Yet he has made the decision, critics be damned, to address those notions head on. As he tells Hutchinson, Harry is both feet in, whatever the costs. The Duke is unwaveringly committed to help eradicate the structures that protect and empower institutionalised racism, both in Britain and further abroad. This conversation with Hutchinson for GQ is just the beginning of the committed long-term mission of the Duke and his charity, the Archwell Foundation. Now, it's quite plain to see that Harry has taken up talking to Hutchinson to launch his Archwell Foundation, to get headlines in the UK. And that is the reason why I can't actually look at this interview through rose-tinted coloured glasses. I really wish I could, because Patrick Hutchinson comes from such an authentic place. He's such a genuine man and speaks frankly and openly to Harry, and is filled with gratitude at receiving royal attention. During the interview, I noticed that it has been written Prince Harry all the way through. We know that Harry himself has renounced his titles, which means he should be addressed as simply Harry or the Duke, even the Duke being too strong a word for him. He is a prince that comes from an extremely privileged background, as I continually say in every video. Privileged background, which I feel Harry himself has decided to ignore. He benefits, him and his wife, from structural imperialism, which he also chooses to, quite frankly, ignore. Anyway, I'm going to get into some parts of the interview, as the interview was fairly long. Prince Harry opened to Patrick and said, "Nice to meet you." Patrick was like, "Yeah, well, firstly, it's an honour. Sorry to grin, but it's an honour to be able to talk to you on a one-to-one basis. I mean, this is almost as good as face-to-face. I've been an admirer from afar for a long time, so this is an honour to speak to you, first of all. So thank you for accepting my invitation." So it would appear that Patrick has invited Harry to jump on this G2 interview with him. And of course, Harry obliged. Never one to miss a PR stunt, hey Harry? Harry was like, "Well done you, Patrick, for getting there. And thank you for your kind words. There's lots of work to do, but I genuinely feel as though the world is actually very much heading in the right direction. But inevitably, a lot of the pain has to come to the surface before we can actually turn the page and start a new chapter." So you see there, Harry's really talking in this philosophical way. He's talking about pain having to come to the surface before he can start a new chapter. And I really do feel that his metaphors are very much about himself and how he's really feeling at this moment in time. Harry continues on, "But I'm going to dive straight in because everyone around the world, millions if not hundreds of millions, will have seen that photo of you giving the fireman's lift to that guy at the protests in London. What people might not know about you is who you are. So I want to know, who are you?" Harry asked that question in quite a probing way, I think. I think he was really probing and trying to feel Patrick out. He was drawing Patrick out in one hand to get Patrick to speak and open up, but on the other hand, he really was trying to work out who Patrick was for himself, you know? So Patrick spoke a little bit about structural racism, and he chatted along with Harry, and he spoke about his time working in the city. He also spoke about how he wasn't getting any promotions. I think he kind of skimmed over the fact that it was because he was a black man. He wanted to do something else. And as he approached 40, he felt that it was his time to get out and go on and do something else with his life, which led him to become a personal trainer. He had a mortgage, mouths to feed, and responsibilities. And he really kind of highlighted and emphasized the fact that he was a dutiful man, a man who had responsibilities. He did say that he was raised in a household by women, as his mother was a single mother. So he was raised by his mother and his grandmother. And he had high respect and high admiration for women. And he expressed that to Harry. Harry went on to talk about the fact that Patrick didn't have any male role models around him, and he talked about if you do have two parents, or if people do have two parents, they generally do take it for granted, which was quite nice of Harry to point out, because that is the case. And I guess if you come from an extremely privileged background, as Harry does, you can also take that for granted. You can take for granted the fact that you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and you have been able to make decisions which land you in privilege and comfort, which Harry has. I find Harry talking about racism and racial issues and structural racism as extremely hypocritical, as he himself is at the top echelon of structural racism, and he himself has always benefited from structural racism, as has his family. They're not running around continually lecturing people on racism or on political matters. Harry, unfortunately, always is, which then in turn shines a light on him and all the privileges that he has received throughout his life. Harry is of royal blood and therefore has benefited from that. So has his wife, who claims to be a woman who is black but has spent most of her life ticking the Caucasian box, surrounding herself with people who are Caucasian. Not that there is anything wrong with it, but then don't lecture everybody else on structural racism and racism as it stands. Don't use the black narrative to suit your own agenda, i.e. for profile or for money making or for raising your profile or for likability. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Please tune in for part 2. Like, comment and subscribe as I always say. Until the next time, bye for now.